Hi everyone, welcome back to Faith and Flour. This is Robin. If you are in need of some homemaking inspiration, you have come to the right place. In today's video, I am starting off with a home-style white bread recipe that I like to make in my bread machine, and it is so easy. And don't worry about writing anything down because I'm going to have the full recipe down in the description box so that you can cut, copy, and paste if you like. I'm also going to be taking care of a few more of those 5-minute tasks that I talked about in my last video. Some things that I've been procrastinating on, I'm going to get to today. And then I'm going to wrap things up with another 15-minute kitchen declutter. So this is where I go through and sort of peel back another layer, remove things that I'm not using regularly and that are just taking up space in my kitchen. And I'm going to just do that in a quick round that's only 15 minutes. So grab a box or a garbage bag and join me. I have had this bread machine that I bought at Williams-Sonoma for probably close to 20 years at this point, and it is still going strong, which sort of proves that if you buy a quality piece of kitchen equipment, you can expect to get a lot of wear out of it, and we definitely have. So this is a recipe that I got from a recipe book that I bought the same time I got my machine. This is one of my favorite go-to recipes. It's so easy to throw together. Just make sure that you put the ingredients into the bowl of your bread machine in the order that they're listed. That's always really important when working with a bread machine. And this one has that texture that you just can't get from a store-bought bread. I think it's probably the egg. It's just a tiny bit sweet because there's honey in it, but it's definitely not over the top. It makes amazing toast or just a basic bread for sandwiches. When I first got my bread machine, and probably for several years after, I hardly ever bought store-bought bread because the homemade bread was amazing and it really doesn't take much time at all. And I've gotten away from it lately. You know, I talked in my last video about procrastination, and this is one of those sort of tasks that seems in my mind like it's going to take a long time. And it does take a little time in the actual bread machine, but the hands-on time is probably close to 5 minutes. So if you have a bread machine, I hope you'll give this recipe a try. One of the 5-minute tasks I really wanted to accomplish this week was to repair the wear on this cabinet in our kitchen. This is something that bothers me often, but I haven't done much about it, mostly because I haven't found a product that worked or lasted. So I did a little bit of research and found something that had really good reviews, and I wanted to give it a try. This cabinet probably gets the most use because it's where our garbage and recycling goes, and I probably clean it more than any of the other cabinets, and that's what I'm doing to start. I'm just using a damp microfiber cloth. This really does a great job of getting off all the dirt, the fingerprints, any bacteria, and then I'm using this paint pen, and I'll put it in my Amazon store in case you're interested. This is the dark walnut or espresso finish. All of the ones that I've tried in the past just didn't really cover this area and didn't last long at all. So you just start by pressing down on the pen to release some of the stain. This one has the stain and the finish sort of all in one, and you just paint over the area that is exposed. First of all, I was so impressed with how well it covered the worn area. You couldn't see any of the wood underneath, and the color matched perfectly. It was seamless and it made the cabinet look brand new. And I've cleaned it a couple of times since I filmed this and none of the stain came off. So I think I have a definite winner, and I'm gonna keep the pen on hand for any time I have a nick or scratch on our cabinets. I also wanted to tackle this door that goes to the backyard. So a couple of these scratches are from us and some are from the previous owners, and it's always bothered me, and I wanted to do something about fixing it. Again, I've tried other products that just didn't last or weren't a good match, and I thought I'd give the same pen a try, even though it's not quite a perfect match. There's a lot of variation on the stain in this door, so I'm hoping that it's gonna kind of blend. But in any case, I think it's going to be better than seeing the scratches, so I gave it a go. So I used the marker to go over the scratches, and then I quickly wiped off the excess before it had a chance to dry. I repeated that a few times in certain areas until I got the look I was sort of going for. And what I really wanted to do was just make those scratches a little less visible. And I was really happy with it. It's not as perfect as the kitchen cabinet, but I'll show you in the end, especially when you look at the door from a little bit of a distance, none of those scratches catch your eye. And I think I will probably go back and see if I can order this same brand of pen in a color that matches the door a little better and repeat this process maybe without removing so much of the excess stain. We'll see. But in the end, it was a good move, and I'm glad that I took the time to do it. So let's compare the door before, and I think you're gonna see a big difference. All of these scratches are so apparent, and once you see it, you can't sort of unsee it. So my goal is to mask them just enough so that it doesn't catch your eye, and I think it worked. It's by no means perfect, but I think I achieved what I set out to do. As the bread was cooking this afternoon, our kitchen was smelling better and better, and it is just immensely satisfying to release that gorgeous loaf from the pan and smell that fresh bread. So I usually take this out. It's such a tall loaf, and I cut it down the center, and then I make slices. You'll see what I'm talking about, because it's just a little easier to make sandwiches that way. I know that I could prepare the dough in the bread machine and then put it in a traditional loaf pan to get the sort of sandwich slice bread if you prefer, but I just love the convenience that the bread machine offers. I just put all the ingredients in and I walk away and come back to this, so I don't mind that the loaf is a little bit of an odd shape. Do you notice Austin in the background? He loves the smell of this bread too. I wish I could share it with you. The next day when washing sheets, I decided to go ahead and wash the wool mattress pad that we put on our bed. I like to do that sort of seasonally, and I hadn't done it yet this fall. That's another task that just takes a couple of minutes, but I tend to procrastinate on. I love having this on our bed. It's such a natural temperature regulator, and if you're interested in it, I have it in my Amazon store. It's kind of pricey, but it's something that's gonna last a lifetime. And then for our sheets, I'm just going to iron the band that shows when I sort of fold the covers back, because when it's wrinkled, it sort of bothers me. And if I don't do it on a regular basis, then the wrinkles sort of set in. So that just takes about 5 minutes as well. And it makes all the difference in the way that our bed looks. I'm going to dedicate about 15 minutes to decluttering my kitchen. And so I've done quite a few decluttering videos on my channel, and I have a whole playlist if you want to take a look at those. I did a huge declutter initially, and I got rid of so many things that were just taking up space in our cabinet, but I feel like this is a process that needs to be revisited periodically. So I like to go back through each cabinet and look for things that I'm not using any longer. Rather than have it just take up space in our kitchen, it could be put to use by someone else. So almost all of these things I'll be donating unless it's broken. In this cabinet, we have a couple of laptops and our laptop covers because this is also my office and the pantry. But I've got a few Tupperware containers that I use on a regular basis. And in the back, I've got some containers that I can use when I'm taking meals to friends. And then down below, all I've got is my colander and then everything that Peyton uses for packing his lunch. And so the majority of what I got rid of in this cabinet were things that the boys used to use for making lunches that we're just not using anymore. So I streamlined that and just kept all the things that we really need. In the upper cabinet, I was about to declutter some more water bottles, but I wanted to run that by Patrick and Peyton because I think they might still be using them. And then I wanted to straighten out the cabinet and reorganize it just a little bit. And I zeroed in on these bowls, which I realized we're just not using anymore either, and there's no sense in keeping those, so they went. So for now, I'm keeping all of my favorite baskets, those water bottles, and some dinnerware that we like to use when we eat outside, and then these bowls, which were a gift from my brother-in-law that we use all the time, especially in the winter. Last winter, I picked up this super cube. I've got that in my Amazon store, and I put it there with those bowls because this is the best way to freeze leftover soup. Below that are our insulated cups, which are great for hot or cold beverages. And then I keep all of our dishcloths and tea towels here. There are quite a few missing that are in the wash, but this cabinet already looks and feels so much better to me. In the next cabinet over, we've got a popcorn maker at the top, which gets a lot more use in the winter time. And then all of my baking items, which I do use pretty regularly, and all of my extra jars, which get a ton of use. So those things are staying, and I don't feel that it's excess because those things get a lot of use. I also have all of my mixing bowls and measuring cups in here, so this is kind of the baking cabinet. In this cabinet under our island, I put some things that we don't use regularly, and I also use the extra space for quarantining items when I'm not sure if I want to part with them. So these have been there for a couple of months, I think now, and I have not gone back to get any of them. So that means we don't need them, so they're going to get donated too. Next to that is where I keep some seasonal decor, and I've got some Christmas tins and cookie trays that I haven't used for a couple years. I'm just keeping one favorite tin that came from Switzerland. That is all I need, and the rest will be donated. On the shelf below, I almost forgot that I had quarantined these little Tupperware containers. They are for spices, and I use several of them on our RV, but I don't need that many, so the rest are going to be donated along with everything else. Something that I've been wanting to part with for a long time, but decided to keep because I had the space, were these cocktail glasses. So you can tell by the dust on them that we absolutely never use them. They were gifted to us and we did use them initially here and there, but for a very long time, they've just been taking up space, so it's time for them to go. A while back, I received an always pan. If you guys don't know what that is, I have a link for it down in the description box so you can check it out. I am totally in love with that pan. And it has taken the place of these other two. So they have just been sitting in the cabinet unused, and it's time for someone else to get some use out of them. In this cabinet, I have just collected a lot of vases. So anytime someone brings me flowers or I buy flowers at the grocery store or Trader Joe's, I always keep the vase, and this is where it winds up. So it is definitely time to declutter those things, along with a wax warmer that I just don't use anymore. So I'm clearing all of those things out and then sort of rearranging things. And as I rearrange this top shelf, I realized that that sort of ice bucket is never used either. So that's going also. I am amazed that I was able to collect this many things in 15 minutes. Clearing out the clutter feels so good, and it also feels really good to know that this stuff is going to be used by somebody who will really enjoy having it. What I usually like to do is pack everything up immediately and take it to the donation center so that it's out of the house and I don't have to rethink anything. I wish that I had done that because the next day was a rainy day and I didn't want to have to move these things from my car inside the donation center when it was pouring. But I did pack everything up so I could clear it off the dining room table, and tomorrow the weather's supposed to be better, so I'll take it by the donation center then. I wanted to cushion all of these glass items, and I didn't really pack them like as if you would for shipping. I just want to make it so that I can get these items from the trunk of our car into the donation center without anything breaking. So I used some of those packing pillows that come in the Amazon boxes and a couple of old towels that I was going to throw away anyhow. All of the non-breakable items just went into a black garbage bag, and then they were ready to go. I hope that today's video gave you some motivation for doing a little 15-minute declutter of your own, and that you also got a little homemaking inspiration along the way. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give me a thumbs up. And if you're new and haven't already done so, I want to invite you to subscribe. It's absolutely free and easy. All you have to do is click on my picture. Thank you for spending your time with me here today. I love hearing from you, so leave me a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, have a wonderful week.